Welcome to another episode of Crime Pays with Botany Does, and I'm here in beautiful Colorado Springs, Colorado. And these gentlemen over here, Alex and Kevin, invited me to come look at the greenhouses that they got. And if this were just a private enterprise, I wouldn't be filming it. But what's cool about this is city sponsored. This is the city greenhouse for stuff that they plant. Well, you guys plant this all over, right? Like any public thoroughfare, median strips, wherever,
medians,
right?
Parks, and then re-veg on trails and open spaces throughout the city. We have thousands of acres, so we grow all these plants peat-free, and then we take these plants and put them out in the field, start to change the gardens that you see in irrigated areas, and then also grow these plants in wild areas so we can start to kind of erase the trace of people going off trail.
What blows my mind is that you got city funding to do this, and you convinced the people, the higher ups, to do that. Most municipalities I encounter, it's run by squares, by geriatrics. No offense, you know what I mean. The generally more conservative geriatrics who are not politically conservative, but just more hesitant to take on things like this. I'm sure you hear dumb shit all the time. Why are you growing weeds?
Yeah.
Right? Because this goes against everything. This goes against the last 175 years of American and European horticulture.
Absolutely. We have gotten a lot of pushback, and ultimately we've used money savings as the driving force for what we're doing. We're saving taxpayers a lot of money by producing all of our own soil here, cutting peat moss out of the grow entirely, collecting our seed and farming our seed from landscapes that we're supplying, and then using that plants for the seed for next year.
So that's the strategy. Because this doesn't look like a bunch of tacky ass gaudy crepe myrtles and Nandina domestica, you kind of have to, it's like giving medicine to a dog. You got to put it in a hot dog. You dress it up in something else.
Yep.
The dressing is the cost savings.
Yep. We've got a big project right next door at the pond. We just installed about 1,500 natives in that landscape over there, and we've been slowly transforming all of the landscapes in the city into native plants.
And tell me about the biome here, because to the east you've got the prairies and the more mesic areas of the United States, and then to the west, right here at the Front Range, you start going up into the mountains, you get more Rocky Mountain, high elevation stuff, as well as drier. You know, the plants need to be a little bit more drought tolerant too, right?
Correct. So we get about 16 inches of rain a year here. We are high arid prairie. We are right where the prairie and the mountains kind of clash. So it's a really hard place to grow. It's very windy here as well.
Yeah.
And our predominant plants in the Front Range are shrubs and grasses. So we focus a lot of our energy on shrubs and grasses, and then the forbs that can handle pretty dry.
Yeah, 6,000 foot elevation, you're going to get cold winters and probably a lot of wind.
Yep,
too,
and
huh?
then we get snow well into May typically, so it's very hard to grow non-natives here. So we've really just been trying to show people that you can have nice looking landscapes with the cool natives that we have available.
What are some of the horticultural atrocities that, if I would go to a spot that wasn't city run, like a private, some hideous strip mall or something, what are some horticultural atrocities I might see dying even though they're on drip irrigation here?
Daylilies, berberis, yeah, they're horrible.
What,
a lot of
Thunbergia?
non-native trees.
What berberis? Thunbergia or
Yeah.
what? Oh God!
And a lot of non-native trees. You see maples everywhere here, which is crazy, especially because we have a native maple that's a nice shrub.
What's the invasive maple they plant, or just the non-native?
They're
one?
just the northern maples, the red maples. We don't have hardly any iron in our soils,
Yeah.
so you see a lot of iron chlorosis happen in the red maples and the red oaks and things like that.
So not invasive maples, but maples that aren't native that struggle in this.
A lot of the non-natives that you'll see will be things like alfalfa, runaway agricultural plants from the European farmers that moved in here.
Yeah.
And so you walk along the trails and you just see tons of that kind of stuff. Spurges and things like that as well. And you'll walk around in the nice neighborhoods and see people gardening with the spurges.
Is there a point at which you see it start to click for people who might not have taken the bait at first, or who were slow to take it? At some point they realize, oh, this stuff evolved there over millions of years. That's why it's so easy to grow here. Do you see that in people, or what?
In the past 4 years, we've seen a big shift in people's perception of what we're doing. Part of that has just been education. So we get hundreds of people over the past 4 years coming to these greenhouses and learning about what we're doing. And I think that helps build a bit of respect toward the native plants that we're growing. So we work really closely with the Colorado Native Plant Society and have just tried to get volume of people through these greenhouses over the past few years. Okay, here we've got fern bush. So you see this on the border of New Mexico. very flowery and attractive looking. You see the great black wasp on it quite a bit, so we like to use this. We also have right over here Apache plume, another great one.
And these are both in the same family, Rosaceae. Oh, that's
Correct.
so sticky. That smells amazing.
Yeah, they smell incredible. The deer don't like to eat them, and that's another thing we have to fight with here in Colorado are the deer and the rabbits and all of that.
So you guys have overpopulated deer probably
Absolutely.
from wiping out predators
Yep.
and then just feeding them probably, yeah.
Yep, all of the trash that the bears like to eat. We do a lot of golden currant. It's got great fall color, beautiful flowers for the hummingbirds in the early spring, and then the berries, of course. Solidago right now is looking really good. So
Who's that? This guy? What Solidago
yeah,
is
that's
that?
Rigida. A lot of fall bloomers in this garden here. And then, like I said earlier, a lot of grass. This is a very grass-heavy environment.
Who's this?
Because we live on the prairie. Muhlenbergia. A lot of little blue stem. That's probably
Yes.
one of the biggest ones that we produce.
Fuck yeah, that's a great one.
We grow thousands and thousands of them every year.
Is this just the Asclepias speciosa?
Yep,
or which
and that's
one?
just seeded in. So this was all rock when we got it. We stopped using herbicide on it, and things started popping up along with the things that we planted in here.
I didn't know obedient plant was native to
This one
Colorado.
I think is a bit of an eastern native, but again, I'm not
Yeah,
looking
close
at the
enough.
box of
Close
Colorado.
enough, right.
Exactly.
All right, we don't.
We
Who
look at
cares
the
about
ecoregion
who
more
cares
than
about
anything.
geopolitical boundaries? And then over the last 50,000 years, you know, distributions have shifted back and forth.
Yep. We like to use Silphium, Rudbeckia maxima. There's some of that Artemisia over
Ooh,
there.
that's Monarda, huh?
Yeah, that's Monarda punctata. So another one, a little bit more of Kansas than Colorado, but it grows great here.
Smells
Super
great.
xeric.
Yeah.
It's growing out of poly sand, so that tells you how tough it is.
Oh, you got a buckwheat. Nobody grows buckwheats. I never see people growing buckwheats except in California. This is such a great genus. I think, is this Jamesii? Probably Jamesii.
That sounds right. We also really like it because it tends to be evergreen here. So the foliage will go purple to red in the wintertime. And we really like to use 3-season, 4-season plants here in Colorado. So you have something interesting to look at in your garden all the time. Because we have perpetual winter here from October into May.
Fucking A. You need native plants in a landscape like that. It's better than, you know, heroin or booze or something.
Yeah.
So what? Tell me about this. Pollinators go apeshit over this, huh?
Yeah, we actually just had somebody come over here and look at how many monarch eggs were on our milkweed. And we saw about 50 monarch eggs when we checked, and the monarch butterflies were going crazy on the buckwheat.
So they lay their eggs on the milkweed and then they come and pollinate the buckwheat and get nectar
Yep.
out of it. So this is, you guys got Amorphicanescens. That's lead plant. That's a beautiful, it's not flowering right now, but fuck, that's a beautiful plant.
Yep,
I
that's
did-
one that we try and encourage instead of Russian sage.
Oh
It
God,
looks
yeah.
very similar as far as the flower is concerned, but now we're fixing nitrogen in
And
the
then
soil.
Artemisia ludoviciana. Artemisia is a huge genus. Great Basin sagebrush. This one smells pretty good too, or what?
Yep. You've got Cercocarpus montanus in here as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Those
Yep.
things are mycorrhizal. There's an amanita that associates with those, and they live for fucking hundreds of years
They're
too.
very tricky to grow. And we have, over the past 4 years, spent a lot of time collecting data in the greenhouses so we can understand what grows well for us and what doesn't grow well for
What's
us.
tricky about the mountain mahoganies? The
They produce
Cercocarpus?
so much seed. I don't think the seed has a high viability rate.
Like 10%.
Yep.
You do the cut test, or what? You cut them open, you find endosperm in like 1 out of every 10 or something?
Yeah,
Or-
and we've got microscopes that the Native Plant Society has brought over so we can do some of that research.
That's such a great plant. That's a plant that probably looks, I mean, it looks pretty all the time, but it probably looks prettier when it's in fruit than when it's flowering.
Yep,
Because they
I
got those
agree.
little twisty plumosakines on
And
them.
they're really cool when you put them in the soil and those seeds get wet. They drill themselves down into the soil.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's really cool to be able
Yeah.
to sow them and then watch them.
And they
drill
live for a
themselves
long
down.
time too. They're very durable, hard wood.
Yep, and it's a very important plant for some of the herbivores that we have in Colorado. It's probably one of the biggest fodder plants. One of the most important things when you're growing in Colorado or dry places is wood chip mulch. It helps retain moisture in the soil a lot, so we don't have to water this garden at all.
Probably get some cool mushrooms coming up too.
Yep.
I was, you know, this is funny because I just saw this in the Sierra Blanca range on the Apache Reservation in Mexico, and I said, this is a fucking great plant. Why does nobody grow it? This is Paracombe caudata. You guys are growing it.
Yep. We've got some in one of the canyons in the southern part of the city that we collected the seed from. And then all of these plants here were done in a volunteer event. So we sowed the seeds, they germinated, and then we had about 50 people come through and transplant all of these. So these have only been transplanted for a month, and they're this big and awesome looking.
And again, it's like, oh, this it just looks like a weed, but then when you actually grow it through its life cycle and see it bloom, it's, you know, a 4 foot to 5 foot tall spherical bush that's just covered in flowers and covered in pollinators, and obviously like a cornerstone species for, you know, much of the habitat that it grows in.
Absolutely. Plus, I think the foliage is just awesome.
Yeah, these were all over these rocky slopes, just big yellow flowers everywhere, big yellow, you know, panicles of flowers everywhere. That's fucking great, man. I might have to, do you guys have one you could spare?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want, please.
Okay, so this thing right here, again, we're going against the conventional thought that all plants must be flowering all the time. So if you just saw this thing, you wouldn't know how cool it was. If you saw it when it's not flowering like it is now, this is Linum, what's the species, Lewisii or something, blue flax? Incredible. And what was this? Nobody was growing this before.
No. Now all of a sudden there's a huge demand in town for it because we've put it in so many landscapes. So now the garden centers are starting to carry that kind of stuff because we're putting it out there.
That's the tragedy of a lot of modern horticulture is we destroy beautiful things. We destroy these libraries and museums of the living world, and we replace them with this, you know, dime a dozen horticultural garbage that evolved 5,000 miles away.
Yep.
And then no one gets a chance to, I mean, that's obviously a plant that people love, but no one even knew it existed until they got a chance to encounter it in city landscaping.
And in the spring, that is just all blue, covered in flowers.
Oh yeah, I just saw it
Stunning.
2 days ago. It was fucking knocked me out.
So we don't grow in peat moss at all, which is pretty typical for the horticultural industry. We grow in road base. It costs us $32 a ton. We've used 15 tons of this year.
So what? Is there any organic material in there at all?
Nothing. This is pretty much clay, sand, and rock. And then we add compost that we produce on site from the annuals that we do grow.
So this is like a sandy loam.
Yep.
And so that's amazing, man. I guess because you guys are high up. I mean, it gets hot during the day, but then it cools off at night since the air is dry.
Yep.
So you can do this. Where I live, it's so hot it would maybe dry out too quick, but
because there's a good amount of clay in it, it does hang on to moisture well.
Yeah, the finer particles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right now we're working with a different county in the state, and we re-vegged with plants that we grew, and they're comparing the success rates between plants that were grown in peat moss versus plants that were grown in this. And right now with Abutalua, we have a 94% success rate with those plants with no irrigation or water whatsoever, where the peat moss has probably a 40 or 50% success
What happens
rate.
with peat? They just rot and they don't like it? I mean, it's a really weird substrate when you think about it.
It's so loamy, and I think that's part of it. They get used to the cushy, soft soil, and then they hit our decomposed granite pretty much in the soil, and the roots don't really want to move at all.
What is most of the geology around Colorado Springs?
I don't know a ton. There's a lot of sandstone here, but I know that the majority of what we typically have, especially towards the mountains, is decomposed granite.
It's sandstone and granite,
Yeah.
probably. Okay, yeah.
Pikes Peak is made of solid granite.
Do you guys get much limestone or no?
I think there are pockets of it here and there.
But not much.
But not
as
tons.
much as New Mexico or
Correct.
West Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, I get fucking nerdy about. I'm like a soil chef. I get really nerdy about it. I got to taste it. I got to feel it. How did you figure this out? First things, how did you figure this out? And then second, how did you convince the city to get into this? So first off with the soil, how'd you figure that out?
The thing I like to tell people all the time is plants don't read books. All I do is wander around, go to our open spaces, and copy what I'm seeing nature doing. There's a reason why it works. So we turned to this, and it's been growing great plant material for us.
So you were just then, and this is the kind of stuff you saw out in nature. You were just you're actually going out and looking at plants in the wild and seeing what
going in
they
the
grow
various
in.
canyons.
And you
out
don't
in the
see a lot of
prairie
peat
and
out in the wild.
Nothing. There's nothing like that here. We have no loamy soil.
So this is what you use for seedlings for everything.
Everything.
I mean,
Yep.
And then they just stay in that and they do fine. And then you top dress with vermiculite sometimes, or
Yep.
what?
Sometimes, not always. But pretty much we'll grow in 50 cell deep cells. So you have a lot of taproot growth before we have to transplant into a 1 gallon. And we're pretty much only doing the deep cells to a 1 gallon pot.
You better not let the guys that sell you this road base know you're growing plants
Right.
because then they're going to start charging you more. They're like, oh shit, this is good stuff.
Yep.
And they know what they got and they start, okay, all right. And then second, how did you said you kind of just didn't, you were already working here, you didn't start asking permission, you just started doing this? I mean,
Yep.
how did you, because I would love more cities to do this. This is public funding and this is basically rebuilding the living world. you know, every time there's a shitty development, stuff gets destroyed, and now you're replacing it.
Exactly. So we just started growing the plants. Traditionally, these greenhouses were all annuals. And then one crop would go out of the annuals, and these greenhouses would have to sit cooled or heated. So we started just growing more and more plants. We had a fire that killed some of them, so we went even harder after.
So
the fire.
annuals, I feel like puking. Tell me about more of this. I want to puke. Tell me what type of annuals were they growing? Mums,
petunias, geraniums, zinnias.
So stuff that's not only not native to anywhere around here, anywhere around here, but probably was hybridized in a greenhouse to begin with and created simply because it's got depth and color and someone found it whimsically attractive. No connection to anything that's alive.
Nothing. The person who founded the city deeded the land to the city in a way that we have to grow flowers and plant them. And we started doing more and more natives and cutting back the annuals. We went from 60,000 annuals a year to about 15 to 20,000. And then the rest are native plants.
That's what they do in Chicago. They're really big on tulips.
Yeah.
You should, God, it's fucking brutal to see. So it looks like Minecraft landscaping. Just like, you know, uniformly spaced in a straight line tulips in all the planting beds. If they were planting native Chicago prairie stuff, it'd be so much different. I mean, it's really cool. So you did this. Was there pushback at first, or what happened?
There was pushback at first, but once we started cutting the need for a soil budget out of our municipal budget and started showing them how much money we could save, that started turning some heads. And then once we started calculating how much money in native plants we sit on, they really started having their heads turn. So it cost us about $2.87 to produce a 1 gallon plant, which is crazy because you go to a nursery and that's a $25 plant anymore.
Right. So it was mainly the cost savings. Do you think there's been a shift in what they find is attractive? Because I mean, when I go out and when I look at like most commercial landscaping, I find it hideous, but other people think it's attractive, and probably vice versa. What I think is beautiful, they probably think is hideous and weedy.
Yeah. I definitely think the public perception of what we're doing is shifting. I also think we have a lot of volunteers who used to grow the annuals and now are doing mixed annuals with natives. They're realizing that there's a lot less work that goes into maintaining a native landscape rather than deadheading a petunia 3 times a week in order to get it to keep blooming.
And certainly just when you see the life that comes back too. I mean, all the lizards, all the cool insects, and then those help keep the bad insects down.
Correct. We use no or very, very little pesticides in these greenhouses. We, for a moment, use ladybugs, but in just keeping our greenhouses sanitized every year, washing them down with boiling water and bleach, we really don't have a lot of pest issues.
And probably you're growing a lot of stuff from seed versus from cutting, so there's different phenotypes, there's genetic diversity, it's not all just the same cutting of the same chrysanthemum. The other thing that we do really like to do here is not use the nativars that are for sale in the nurseries. We're collecting the straight seed from our open spaces and using that seed in our propagation. I mean, the nativar thing is whatever, I don't really, it doesn't, I don't get off. I don't see any point in it, you know. It's kind of like, why not? So basically, I think for this to take hold in more places across the country, it's literally just a paradigm shift, but you didn't even wait for the paradigm shift. You just started doing this, and then now the paradigm shift is following your actions.
Correct. We're going to start building an outdoor classroom here so we can bring even more people in. But I think as much outreach as we can do to people who are gardening at home, showing them how nice our landscapes can actually look, that really starts to change people's minds about what these landscapes can look like.
So you went out into nature and basically just copied what you saw and brought it back.
Yep. I was born and raised here in Colorado Springs. My family's been here since before colonizers came, so I really feel a deep connection here, and I spent time on the land with my grandparents and my parents, really understanding what happens here in Colorado.
It's awesome. You're doing amazing work, man.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.